Um, Alright, my name is Sigis Brammer. This is going to be my Socratic seminar for Bless Me Ultima. I'm going to be focusing on the theme of loss of innocence, especially surrounding the communion. On page 221, Rudolfo Anaya writes this passage. I closed my eyes and concentrated. I had just swallowed him. He must be in there. For a moment on the altar railing, I thought I had felt his warmth, but then everything moved so fast. There wasn't time to sit around and discover him, like I could do when I sat on the creek bank and watched the golden carp swim in the sun-filtered waters. God, why did Lupito die? Why do you allow the evils of the Tramentinas? Why did you allow Narciso to be murdered when he was doing good? Why do you punish Florence? Why doesn't he believe? Will the golden carp rule? 1,000 questions pushed through my mind, but the voice within me did not answer. There was only silence. Perhaps I had not prepared right. I opened my eyes. On the altar, the priest was cleaning the chalice and platters. The Mass was ending. The fleeting mystery was already vanishing. My first question is, what does the communion do to Antonio?
I feel that for Antonio, he doesn't really get the answers he's looking for. Like, he begins to, this is when, he realizes, God, really wasn't there for him when he needed him most. Right when he took him in, he was, looking for all these answers, and he didn't get them, so he's wondering, what happened, if he did something wrong in the process, and he's not sure.
I agree. It's kind of like the minute he says, I believe, he couldn't feel him like the golden carp. He couldn't embrace him. He couldn't, and I feel like that's him questioning. So I think it just raises more questions for him, and that's exactly what it does. It says it raises 1,000 questions racing through his mind, and it creates havoc for him. It kind of he can't really focus on it, and he feels that God that's God's fault, and he also blames himself.
Yeah. Right. Does communion do anything for Antonio?
Not much positive things for him, in his mind, I believe.
I think it starts to make him doubt his religion and how he's supposed to believe in this God that everyone talks about, but when it actually comes to him, he doesn't really feel it in him. So I think he starts to really believe in the golden carp that Florence had showed him. So he was like, oh, I can see him, he's there, I believe in him. But other than everything else, everyone says, oh, God is up there. Everything, he just hears it, but he actually saw the golden carp, so maybe he just starts to doubt, is God really there? Is he really there for me?
So he starts to become more independent-minded. Right. How is Antonio's mood before and after the communion? And how might this affect, how might this show how he's losing his innocence?
His mood before is hopeful. It's kind of he's wanting answers. He's searching for them. But at the end, he's kind of disappointed, blaming himself, blaming the feeling within him.
Alright, so you're saying that before he was really excited, and then afterwards he felt that he was the one to blame?
I don't think he excited is the word, because he wasn't
anxious.
He wasn't anxious for it. He was kind of his last try, kind of when you've done something for a long time and then you haven't been able to succeed and kind of achieving it. So you say it's your one last time, oh, this is the last time I'm ever gonna do it, so let's see if it works, And for him it didn't work. So it was kind of you hold that feeling, as it happens to everybody. We might not feel it, but it happens to everybody. It's our one last chance, and it didn't work for him. That's what happened.
I think before he was excited, because when everything happened to him, he saw the deaths and the fights and everything. He was looking to God oh, he's gonna answer my questions. When I get my communion, I'm gonna find all the answers. But then in the end, he ended up being disappointed because he didn't get all his questions answered. He didn't understand why these things happened to him, because God never came to him to tell him why these things happened.
I think he was really looking forward to having all of his questions answered. And then when it didn't happen, he started to get frustrated and panicky. And that's when he started to question the existence of God. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think after he feels that like God is not with him, and then in the I think chapter 22, he has a dream about the three figures that have died, are Cecil and Florence, and then he's asking God like why has he abandoned him? So I guess he doesn't feel like God is with him.
Are there different aspects of innocence that can be lost at different times in a person's life? If so, what did Antonio lose at the communion?
Wait, what do you mean?
Are there different ways that like somebody could lose part of his innocence, but then in other ways still keep it? What I think happened at the communion is Antonio, he began to lose his religious innocence, meaning that he saw, like I said before, he began to see that maybe he was wrong about all this, about Catholicism. However, there are other aspects, particularly let me rephrase this. He has begun to lose his religious innocence, but he still doesn't know what is true, God or the golden carp. And so he has lost his innocence. He has begun to lose his innocence, but he's still managing to hold on to it by not choosing.
Alright, I guess there's different aspects of it.
Yeah.
So I feel like he does, for the religious wise, he does, you can't lose that, and he does lose that. Because he's experienced other things that a lot of kids, especially in this town and around the world, have not experienced, where he actually gets to see two different sides of religion. Kind of he sees the golden carp, and he's been brought up with, be a priest, believe in God, because he's great. But and it's unique because around the world, a lot of kids are faced with this is right, and you cannot question it at all, and that's how they live their life. I think that's what he loses, his religious.
Yeah, I think it's just like what he said, how he was expecting something else from the communion, and when he saw that everybody else was feeling all this happiness, and he didn't feel anything, he just kind of recognized that there could be other religions, such as the golden carp, how a lot of people believe in that, like Florence. Yeah, pretty much that he just lost his religious innocence, I guess you can say.
Just one last quick question. This has been brought up before. Antonio's mother said that as you become a man, you lose your innocence. Is she telling him that he should not become a man, or is she is she pining for the days when she knew that was a long ways off?
Can you repeat the initial question? I got that.
And throughout the course of this project, in various Socratic seminars, people have brought up that Antonio's mother said that as you become a man, you lose your innocence. So, is she telling him not to grow up, or is she just longing?
I don't think she wishes that he wouldn't grow up because she knows that all men do is sin, or that she thinks is sin. So she's not telling him not to be a man, but she just wishes it. And then if he would become a man, then she would just hope that he would make the right decisions.
So basically, you're saying she knows it's a necessary evil.
And it has to happen, but she doesn't want it to.
It's
and she wishes for the best.
It's like every mother's ideas. They don't want their children to grow up because they're innocent. And as soon as they hit this point where they're into adulthood, they lose all that. And she knows it's coming. She wants it to come, but then again, she doesn't want it to come. So it's kind of it's conflicting area for that.
I think she's saying it more like a warning, kind of you're gonna lose your innocence, but stay who you are. Don't lose your way. Yeah.
I think it's a warning too. Just you're gonna become a man, but make sure you make the right decision and don't go the bad direction that everyone else is going to go to. Be your own man. Stay who you are, like she said.
But then again, I think she's so closed off in the religious aspects of it that she's she doesn't really take notice of what his ideas are. So she doesn't really see what he's gonna get to. So he's just, it's her closed off feeling. Because she's like in a bubble with the religion.
Any last thoughts? All right. And so that concludes the Socratic seminar.